Hi, I'm Craig Moody. The story you are about to hear is raw and often brutal. So is love. Welcome to the Prince of New York.
Chapter 2, Year 1. I soon started meeting up with Prince every afternoon at his apartment near the village. Everything started with a bang, literally. I'll spare you the savory details. The point is, Prince definitely knew what he was doing. He knew his way around the male body better than any woman I had ever been with. He explored me in ways I would have never even imagined possible. It took time and hell of a lot of patience, but I eventually followed his lead and allowed myself to give in to the moment. I was fully aroused by him, more so than I had ever been with any of the females I had laid with. I hadn't been so excited since that first jerk-off session with my cousin. The naivety and innocence of my early encounters with Prince are something I remember fondly and cherish just as much as anyone would their first love. I didn't love him at first. That took time, but I was certainly turned on by him. He was a bit indifferent toward me in those earlier days. He would do whatever he wanted with me, never forcefully or cold, always gentle and warm, but always by his guidance. Afterward, he'd light a cigarette and go about his business, either within the apartment or he would just leave, allowing me to stay if I wanted, but I always had drops to make and pickups to tend to. Luckily, his place wasn't far from my usual route, so I was able to fit my afternoons in with him with ease. If I was ever caught, I could just lie and say I was with my Gumar. I know I don't need to explain what a Gumar is to you, but just in case, it's the old school Italian term from what would today be referred to as a side bitch. I would leave Prince's apartment smelling of him, his skin, his mouth, even his semen. As gross as it may sound, I would often leave that on me, allowing it to dry and cake under my clothing like a mask. It was a way of keeping a part of him with me. I know how gross that is, but you have to understand the place I was at the time. This was all new to me. It was exciting and thrilling and all that shit. But most of all, it was completely terrifying. I was coming to terms with the fact that I was enjoying sex with a man. I didn't consciously admit to myself the possibility that I may be homosexual. I simply went along with it. It was almost as though because he was the son of a Don, I did whatever he wanted, but, of course, I knew that was not the case. Also, he was the son of the Don of another family, a rival family. My being with him wasn't just dangerous because of the gay factor. It was dangerous based on blood, oath, and loyalty. My affair with Prince went on without issue for about 6 months. During that time, Kathy lost one of the two pregnancies she had while with me. I had been initiated by that point for sure, but most importantly, I had started working as a soldier. I made my first bones on one of the rare few days when I didn't meet up with Prince. I had been instructed by my captain to ride along with a far more seasoned and experienced soldier. I wasn't told what we were assigned to do until we got there. Some loan shark was tied to a chair at the back of an abandoned warehouse. I was handed a pistol with a silencer and told to shoot the fucker straight between the eyes. I can't explain to you what it felt like to be told to do this. I hadn't expected this, but I knew I had no other choice. I knew the day would come eventually, especially once I was sworn in and had moved up in rank. I don't know how I managed it, but I somehow disconnected my brain from my body and just shot the guy, one time, right between the eyes. I didn't miss. I didn't even clip his ear or hit the side of his head or anything like that. The bullet penetrated directly between his eyebrows. The dark crimson hole leaked and oozed something crazy. I helped the other soldier wrap the body in plastic. We carried him to some crate and dumped him inside it. I wasn't told anything after that, but I later learned that the crate was picked up by another pair of family soldiers and disposed of. Where? I don't know. Our captain was a genius at divvying out the work and keeping the details limited and restricted. It was better that way. The less we knew, the less capable we would be of flipping or becoming informants. Also, it was easier on the psyche. It was better for me not to know what happened to the body of the guy I killed. I didn't have to think about it. Sort of like how you never think of where the meat comes from on the burger you get at McDonald's. You never think of the poor animal that is raised just to end up on a stale bun with some lame condiments next to some greasy-ass fries, swallowed down your gullet just to be shit out a day and a half later. I did what was asked of me. I made my bones. I was now a bona fide soldier. Prince noticed something different in me the following day. I mentioned something about making my bones. He didn't ask any questions. He understood. We didn't fuck that day. We just sort of hung out. It was the first time I felt something more than pure attraction to him. I sensed a goodness in him that afternoon, a kindness. I sensed that he was sad for me. I didn't understand it then, not until later. Not until I got to know the soul within him. But in that moment, I wanted to impress him. I figured that the son of a dawn would be aroused by me making my bones. I figured he'd be as attracted to the blood I spilled as he was to the jizz in my balls. But he wasn't. Not at all. But again, I didn't know that then. But it certainly changed the dynamic, at least for a little while. Kathy began to suspect something around this time. She knew I was fucking someone else. Of course, she never assumed it was a man. She listed off the names of broads who tended to hang around the places I frequented. I denied everything, but I could tell she knew. This was the beginning of the end for us. She became increasingly jealous, sniffing my clothes and even tailing me a time or two. Finally, I had to slap her around a little bit just to knock some sense into her. She knew as well as I that she absolutely could not get caught up in any of my business when it came to the family work. If she happened to see or overhear the wrong thing at the wrong moment and someone found out about it, it wouldn't matter that she was my girl. She would disappear as fast as any other possible liability. My captain took no chances. That was why our family was as successful as it was. The Don ran things like a Fortune 500 company. He saw himself as a Donald Trump type. He invested money into real estate and various other tycoon-attractive businesses. The Don wasn't bloodthirsty, but he was certainly lethal. The captains would often intuitively knock people off simply because they knew the Don would be angry if they didn't, even if they weren't told to. There were no chances taken. The feds were snooping around too much. There was too much media attention. The early 70s were the last of the glory days of the mob. If only we knew what was to come just a decade or so later. The golden age would soon rust and crumble, left to nothing but cheap, broken pieces of fool's gold that not even some dime store whore would be interested in. Kathy stopped snooping, but the wheels were now in motion. By the end of 73, she moved back in with her mother. Her father had died of a stroke just before that Christmas. She told me that her mother needed her. I'm sure she did. But I knew Kathy used her father's death as an excuse to leave me. I never heard from her again until years later, but looking back, I'm glad she made the choice she did. It kept her safe from my lifestyle, and most of all, it protected her heart from ever finding out the truth about me and Prince. I was not the only guy in Prince's life during that first year. I didn't know it for sure, but I assumed he had other guys. But I had it confirmed just before the new year. I got to the apartment early. It was a bit before noon. Prince wasn't expecting me till around 3. I let myself in. I had a key by that point. I rounded the corner to enter the kitchen just to run into some dude, buck naked, eating a bowl of cereal. The guy was dainty and feminine. I was angry and hurt right away. I don't know what came over me, but I ended up smacking the kid around when he got a bit slick with me. His body was completely shaven, a fact that annoyed me. His eyebrows were tweezed and he just reeked of being a total faggot. Something in me wanted to kill him because of it. But something in me even stronger was devastated that Prince was not only with another guy, but also someone so girly. Prince came into the kitchen and broke us up. Well, he stopped me from killing the kid, that is. The poor guy, dripping with blood and tears, ran out of the apartment completely nude. Prince went after him. I don't know what happened after that. Prince refused to speak to me for about 2 weeks after that. I figured it was all over till he showed up one day at my place in Brooklyn. I was shocked that he knew where I lived. He didn't say much. He just sort of pushed his way in. He peered around the place a bit, clearly judging my sloppy bachelor lifestyle, and then made himself a drink. We were naked in my bedroom in less than an hour. He never brought up the kid I had assaulted, and I never offered an apology for what I had done. Of course I felt bad. What was it about that kid that had enraged me so? At the time, I would have said it was because he gave a bad name to queers, that it was because he paraded around, forcing his sexuality into everyone's face and down their throats. But now I know it's because I was threatened and jealous at how free he was to be himself. Not that I wanted to express any form of femininity, but I was certainly reserved and closeted. Seeing someone who so easily embodied the opposite of what I was just had this insane rage reaction within me. But I put it all out of my mind, and Prince and I continued on with our affair. I caught him twice more with different dudes. The next time, I just stormed out of his apartment, refusing to see or speak to him for nearly a month. The time after that, I just joined in on the fun. It was clear that Prince was not devoted to me or us or whatever. To him, he was just living his life. Like most young bachelors, he took full advantage of whatever ass he could get, no different than a heterosexual male would in his position. Of course, his extreme good looks allowed him a plentiful bounty. I'm not sure if any of these guys knew who he was when it came to his father and whatnot. I know he never told them, and it probably wouldn't have mattered to these guys anyway. They were simply there because Prince was gorgeous. He had a big dick and he could fuck like a machine. But I was falling in love, slowly and surely. I found myself echoing some of the crazy shit Kathy had done when she had suspected me of cheating. I began sniffing Prince's dirty clothes when he was in the other room, and I even loitered around outside his apartment at night. This went on for quite a while before he finally caught me. "You need to grow the fuck up," he told me. "What did you think? That we were going to get married or some shit? Get a place together? Get a dog? We're fags, man. We don't do that shit. This is just about fucking. That's it. If that's not good enough for you, well, then, you know where the door is." I was devastated, but I didn't dare show it. Prince was sweeter and more passionate with me that day. After a year of seeing each other, I still had never once spent the night with him. My time was relegated to the afternoons, and that was that. If I did encounter him in the evening, or, much more rarely, at night, it was when he came to my place. It was only just a bit over the year mark of our time together that I discovered why this was.